using... Hi everyone, and welcome to Design with Nicole Nowosad with Scrapbook and Cards Today magazine. Today I'm here to share with you some fun pop-up cards using a close to my heart card making kit. It's a really great kit that comes with all the ingredients that you need to make fun cards such as these ones here. So let's go ahead and get started, and I'll show you the kit and the contents. So it comes with this stamp set as well. You can see on one side in the kit there is a set of instructions on how you can make the basic card and all the little pieces already cut for you. So I'm just going to take out some of these here for my project. And this is a pop-up card set, and in this set you also get two sets of stamps, I guess. One that has sentiments and one that has these really pretty floral patterns. So I'm going ahead now and just assembling the card with the instructions. So I'm just going to make a little bit of a fold here and fold over the gold foil front, lining it up carefully. And because I wasn't smart and didn't use a bone folder, I had a little trouble, so make sure if you get this kit that you do that. And now I'm making a bit of a slider for inside. So all you do is insert the inside piece for this card kit and tuck down that front, and there you go. Look at that. You have a fun little sliding card. So really easy. You can see if you had to make a whole bunch of kits, for Christmas or another card swap, for example, having a card kit like this would be really helpful and pretty easy. And you can still customize each card to be different. So what I'm going to do here is just start playing around with some of these floral stamps, and I'm going to stamp my sentiment. And these are all layering stamps. These flowers here are layering stamps. So I'm starting off with one of the base of the flower and just a light pink ink that I have here. And I'm starting with the lightest color, and then the trick with the layers is to start light and build the depth in. So I have this really pretty pomegranate red color here from close to my heart, and so I'm using that for my mid-tone of my flower. And I'm just stamping the next set in the stamp set. So you can see I start with the background, it adds a little more depth. And in this case, there's actually two different mid-tones you can use. One is more of a, looks like a bit of a stem kind of background, and one is more solid. And then the fun begins. There's all these fun little pieces within the stamp set that you can use to build basically whatever sort of pattern or design you want for your page. So what I'm doing now is I started with a branch, and I'm just added some leaves using two different colors of Close to My Heart ink. And the fun part about those ink pads is that they have a magnetic top, and I truly didn't realize that until I opened them up and saw how awesome they were. I highly recommend it. It's definitely a fun item on something unexpected, and it's very handy. Your ink lids do not fall off, so it's really great. So all you can see I'm doing here is I just added another little flower, and I used two different colors of ink, and I'm just building up more of that background. Sorry, I'm a little bit off camera here. And I'm just adding in a little more of that green with the stems just to kind of fill in all the gaps. You can kind of go a little crazy with this one. You can go as much as you want or as little. You can keep it very simple. In this case, I wanted to kind of create a whole pattern paper looking background with the stamp set. And now I'm just going in with a bit of a yellow color here on the top of some of the little tiny stems that I have stamped in the fern green there. And you won't be able to see it right here from far away, but up close at the end of the video I will show some close-ups on how that looks. There's all these fun little tiny detailed stamps that you can use for the inside of the flowers, or for flowers like this where they look like little wildflowers. So really fun, and you could use them in a million different ways. So I'm just touching this up here with the fern ink again, and I'm just adding little tiny bits of a different sort of stem just to add a little bit more of a textural look to that part of the card. So really fun, and as you can see, really easy and actually quite quick. Goes really fast. There's no stress. If you do it wrong, you can always just start right over with a fresh piece of cardstock. Just cut down to that same size. So there you have my stamped image, and now I just want to get it finished onto the card. So the instructions tell me that I can stamp a hidden image inside this pop-up. So I just have some black ink here, and I've chosen one of the sentiment stamps, and I'm just going to stamp that inside. So this will be a thank you card. I'm just going to fix up my stamping there with a pen. And as you can see, once I get this floral design on the front of my card, once I slide it open, you get your sub-sentiment, I guess you could call it. So it looks pretty on its own, just black, but I thought I would try to grab my watercolors out that I should use more often. and color the inside of some of those flowers there on the inside of the pop-up. I thought it would just make a nice little effect. So I'm trying to use some colors here that go along with the inks that I used on the front of the card. And I'm just very lightly using a small amount of water because this is not on watercolor cardstock. So I'm being very careful with the amount of water that I put. I'm not a very expert at the water and coloring. So my only tip for you is to really just go small and go light, and then just add more in as it dries. And don't go too crazy, especially if you're not using watercolor paper. So yeah, very, very simple. I'm just gonna add a little bit of red here just to the bottom tip of that flower, just to add a little depth. Now what I've done from my next card is I've cut those pieces out of pattern paper. So the samples that came in the card kit have all the dimensions on the front of the instructions. So I use that to just cut down the same size pieces out of pattern paper. And inside here, I'm actually putting in a piece of watercolor paper. And so instead of using the white, I'm using all these pattern pieces. Now, I was going to just add them on top for a little bit of thickness to it, but I really felt like that slider wasn't going to slide as well. So I just adapted it and used the pattern paper as it was. And so I really wanted to make this pretty because I love those flowers, the layered flowers. So I knew I was going to use that again. So that's why I chose a more pretty pattern paper. You can see I just added a second pattern paper to the back side of that front area there. And that's just so when it pops up, you don't see the white on the back, you see a different pattern. And I'm going to work on the inside of the card first this time. So I'm going to stamp this here, You're in My Heart, and this will be a Thinking of You card. And then I'm going to start working on the front. So because I've covered it with pattern paper, it kind of limits myself a little bit to what I can do. But I decided just to have a simple stamped sentiment on this scallop circle. And then I'm going to use some of the leaves just to add a very light branch detail to the front of the card, and so as not to detract too much because I do have all that busy floral paper. But these stamps are really easy. You can, like I said earlier, you can customize what you want to put on there. So I'm keeping it really simple with some of this more of a tulipy type shape that's in the stamp set. And sorry, again, my circle is a bit off on the bottom there, but I'm just adding in, as I did in the first card, just different colors to those little flower areas. So very, very simple to customize pretty much any project you want using these stamps. The stamp set like this is going to be really useful on a lot of different projects, not one or another. I think that this is something you would definitely pull out more and more often. And the fact that you get 2 stamp sets in a card kit is really great because, I mean, it just makes it go even farther. I love those pretty sentiments and all the little flowers and leaves. I know I'm going to make a scrapbook layout with it too. I'm pretty inspired to give that a try. So I'm going to add a little bit more watercoloring on the inside of this card too. I'm going to carry that theme across all the cards that I make. And because I use watercolor paper, I can use a little bit more water to spread the paint in this case. So adding the extra little bit of water, almost when you touch down with the color, it just kind of spreads it out for you. So you really don't need to do a whole lot other than just touch in the areas where you want the paint, like I'm doing with the green here. And the water just kind of spreads it out for you, makes it that pretty watercolory look. So you can just keep building and building like I'm doing with the green, just adding little bits more and more. And you can always dab it off like I did there with a paper towel. A quick little sprinkle with some of that yellow paint just mixed with water makes a nice little misted effect. And then I'm going to use that same yellow paint just on the front of the card here, just dabbing it off slightly, just to add a bit of a watery washed look in behind that sentiment. So here's another card I did make with the same card set. In this case though, I took the 2 smaller pieces on the front of the card and I stamped them together as they were side by side so that I had a more continual look instead of that little strip. And then again, I added in the inside of that card another one of those stamp sentiments. This is that very first card that I made. I really, really love the pattern paper look of the layered stamps. I know I'm going to use those stamps quite a bit. You could change that up various colors and patterns, so super pretty. And that inside little watercolored sentiment with those really pretty sentiment stamps. Such a fun kind of surprise to find inside of a card. This one here with the pattern paper is a nice little bit of a change up. Really easy to do, doesn't take a lot of extra time, and the fact that everything's kind of pre-made for you really helps make things fast. And how fun would this be to give someone and have them open up and pull, and a little surprise in the mail. And the fact that this card is a pretty flat card, you definitely could mail this to someone that you love. So that's it for me today. I hope you've enjoyed this design with Nicole Nowosad, and I will see you again next time.